Hey, Bold Pivot fans, Denny Grimes and Molly D'Amatos, another Bold Niblet coming to you basically to offset what's going on in the Bold Pivot world. And we're gonna role play for you some of the objection questions and requests that are coming on the comments coming from the Bold Pivot page that have to do with buyers. Are you having a struggle right now with buyers in a very competitive market? So Molly's got a couple of role plays she wants to do, and go ahead, take it over, Molly.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Denny, so much. We're glad y'all are tuning in and learning so much about how to help your clients. One of the big things in any market, whether it's a shifting market, a buyer's market, a seller's market, a flat market, is sometimes overcoming buyer reluctance. Regardless of the market, the buyer's number one fear is making the wrong decision. We know this, we know this, we know this. They're terrified of making the wrong decision. So oftentimes we'll see reluctance come up one way or another. So I'm going to just go over these guidelines to facilitate decision making. Like Gary told us in Bold last week, we really are here to be great decision facilitators. We're not making decisions for them yet. We do want to help them get off the fence and make a decision. Whether it's yes or no is fine. We just want to help them make that decision. So take notes on these, and then Denny and I are going to do a little role model of what these would look like. Anytime you want to facilitate decision making, first, always go back to their motivation. Remind them why they need or want to make the move in the first place. Always go back to motivation. If you don't understand your buyers and sellers why, you may never successfully get to how. The next thing you want to always do is go back to their wants and needs. This is why we as real estate agents have got to be better than 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, 2,000 square feet, $300,000, right? Zillow does that. Realtor.com does that. KW.com does that. Any website on the world, my 7-year-old nephew could find you a house with parameters. So we've got to know why 3 bedrooms, what's important about 2 baths. Tell me more about a big yard. So understand their wants and needs at the deepest level, and then go back to those. Use the language they use. It's about what they're looking for and not why they're looking for it, and not what they're looking for. Advise them as a consultant. Remember, you're not selling them anything. Instead, help them understand the market, the house, and their needs. The fourth thing you want to do is allay their fears. If folks are afraid of something, then talk through that. Have a conversation and ask lots of questions like Denny taught you last time. The fifth thing you want to do is solve their problems. Maybe someone else needs to see the house. Maybe they're unsure about the condition of the home. Anytime something like that comes up, help them solve their problems. Be solution-based. And then finally on the list here is calculate the cost of waiting. Paint a scenario of what could happen if they waited, and the negative, what could happen, the negative things that could happen by waiting, we want to overcome in advance. So with those little things detailed out, let's think about some common objections. So I've just showed Denny a house. I can tell he likes it. He should probably make an offer on it because it's a really competitive market. And so I say, so Denny, I can tell that you really love the house. Is this something you want to move forward on and make an offer?
Well, hey, Molly, this is of the 3 we looked at today. This is really kind of what we're looking for. Yep. I mean, probably meets most of our needs right now. And I really appreciate you showing it to us.
Good, good. So are you ready to make an offer? I'd go ahead and talk about some of the things we can do to make sure your offer gets accepted.
Well, my wife and I talked about it, and we just want to sleep on it. We want to make sure we're making the right decision.
Sure. Now I'm going to pause the role play here because I really need to have good rapport with Denny before using this script. So make sure you know that when you have good rapport, this is a fantastic script to use. All right, back in it. So Denny, you're saying you and your wife, you just want to sleep on it first. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to make a mistake. We did that once before. We bought and we ended up not liking the house. And so we don't want to do that again, Molly.
Sure, I get that. I don't want you to make a mistake either, for sure. So can I be candid with you, Denny?
Sure.
Okay. If you sleep on it, you may never sleep in it. Now, I know it sounds cheesy. Just let me explain what I mean. The last time you bought a home, I know you made a decision. You don't want to make that mistake again. Yet, what kind of market was that? Was that a kind of slow moving market?
It was in Ohio. I don't think we have anything other than a slow moving market.
I get it. I get it. So there's some time to think about things. What I mean here is if you sleep on it, someone else could be making an offer while you're thinking, and then you won't even have the opportunity to investigate. Is this the right home for us? Are the inspections good? Does this make sense? If we make a good decision and make an offer today, then you and your wife will have the opportunity to really be certain this is the house for you. And ultimately that's what you want. Right, Denny?
Yes. Now, again, I mean, that's hitting me already. You're kind of putting me in the fear of loss, into pain.
Sure.
And so, I mean, that was a great comeback. Do you want me to keep pushing, or do you want to go to the next one?
Well, people push. And I think in Bold Pivot, folks want to see, well, what happens when they say no again? Right. So push me.
All right. So, well, okay. So, all right, look, I tell you what we want to do. It's 3 o'clock. Can we let you know by 7:30?
Sure. Now, Denny, and I completely understand 100% where you're coming from. And ultimately, this is your decision. So before we go any further, I just want to make sure you and your wife both know this is up to you. I'm simply here to help guide you. That being said, I would be a terrible buyer's agent if I didn't paint a picture of what could happen. So if 7:30 came around and this home was already under contract and you no longer had the opportunity to even put your name in the hat to see if you could get it, how would you feel about that?
That is like putting them into pain. What a great question. You guys need to watch that over and over again, because she's telling the truth in this market, right? When you
Absolutely.
have multiple offers, that means you have multiple buyers that are unhappy because they didn't get the home.
That's right. And Denny, that's a really important point to make, is that we are not tricking anyone into anything. I think oftentimes our limiting mindset says that scripts are here to trick people. They're really not. You're using what to say. You know what to say and when to say it to help someone make the greatest decision. If you don't know what to say and when to say it, you could end up costing someone the largest financial investment of their lifetime. If you say, sure, Denny, think about it. And then he wakes up tomorrow morning and we go to make an offer and I call that agent and she says, geez, it went under contract about 9:15 last night. Honestly, how are your buyers going to feel? They're not going to feel very confident about their real estate agent. If
Absolutely.
ultimately that happens and you had the conversation and set the expectation it could happen, well, you know what? Then they'll chalk that up to experience and they'll understand the next time that you are the professional they should be listening to. So
key point, you guys got to be blameless, right? Because you give them they're gonna look for someone to blame.
Mm-hmm.
And too many times I've seen them blame the agent and they don't want to work with them anymore. Like Molly said, they've lost confidence in you. Stand up and give them the truth, right?
That's right. Like
so
one more really great one, Denny. I want to give this one to end this because there's tons of objections we could go through and we'll keep doing these. I just want everyone to hear that a lot of times people say, yeah, I just really want to make sure I'm getting the best deal or whatever. Here's a great script. Buyer's market, seller's market, doesn't matter. Everyone wants the best value. So rest assured, if you see this home as something you see value in, chances are someone else is going to be feeling the same way and they may already be making an offer. So let's do the right thing, get an offer in, and then use your, whatever it is in your state, your due diligence period, your inspection, whatever it is, to think it through further and be sure this is the best decision for your family.
Notice the inflection, you guys. It's not just the words. She's practices. She's probably said that before, and she's coming off with awesome amount of empathy, which is part of your AAIOU, which I never could spell very good. So do you want to do the one more on the inspection? Do we have time to do that?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, well, all right. So now, forget about the last scenario. Now I'm a different buyer, and this house looks like it needs a lot of work. I don't know. I'm not really ready to go through with it until we have somebody take a look at it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Denny, I completely understand. And one thing all homeowners come to realize is there's no such thing as a perfect house. Houses age, things go wrong. And as you and I talked about in your consultation, your price range, not only is it really competitive, it lends itself to needing to make a couple of, adjustments here and there in expectations about what you're getting. And you and I have chatted about that. As far as I can tell, this house appears to have what you're looking for as a whole. So when it comes to inspections, what we're going to do is we're going to guide you to help hire a fantastic home inspector. It's the home inspector's job to tell you exactly what you're buying. They're going to give you a detailed report of everything in the house, stuff that might concern you, stuff you may want the seller to repair, and stuff that you just need to know because you're buying a house and it's things you're going to need to take care of. So it's their job really to let you know what you're buying. So the best thing we can do now is make an offer on this home so you have a chance to investigate it thoroughly. And then once you've done that, then I'll help guide you through that to make sure, again, that you're completely comfortable with what you're buying. How's that sound?
So you're saying if I don't like what the inspector finds out that I'm not really locked into the house?
Yep, absolutely. And I'll have a conversation with the listing agent about that as well. Set the expectation up front so we can find out. Maybe the seller's not willing to do anything. Maybe they're willing to help you. Regardless, we'll make sure that we know so that you can move forward with confidence. The last thing I want you to do is throw a bunch of money into a house you're not going to buy in the first place. Make sense?
You know, it's a very comfortable comeback. And from a logical standpoint, Molly, how could a buyer object or argue with that? If they do, most likely there's something else that you haven't uncovered yet. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. And this is why overall, Denny, a powerful buyer consultation where you go through each step of the buyer consultation, setting expectations and educating the buyer, not just on the market, about the process as well. You want to make sure that you're educating them every step of the way so that conversations like this land the way they're supposed to, authentically and with care, which is exactly where it's coming from. I don't want my buyers buying a pile of junk. I'm going to have to sell that again in 5 years, right? So I want to make sure that they're happy with what they're getting.
Nice job. Very comfortable. Now let's kind of reverse it as we talked about. Well, a lot of agents are struggling with working with buyers. They have multiple offers and their buyers are not getting the home they want. And I'm finding many times agents are getting in the way. So can we role play that and how I would school an agent that prepare their buyer for the market and how to perform? And before I get started, what I'd like you to write down the way that I like to work is that set expectations, quit setting prices and start setting expectations. With 37 years experience, I've been surprised many times of how much over asking price a home will sell for or how much under asking price a home will sell for. Here's the thing, expectations is our job, right? So let's set the scenario up. Let's say you're a buyer in a strong, in most of the markets with a low inventory, in the sweet spot of the price range. You've just looked at a home, new on the market, $300,000 you said is pretty hot in Asheville, right?
That's right. Yeah. Asheville, 300,000 gone, sold.
So I want you to be the buyer now that basically says, okay, what do we do now? What do we offer? Blah, blah, blah. And I'll be the agent.
All right. So Denny, I love this house. I love everything about it. What's next? What do we do? How do we get this house?
Well, the thing is, as we talked about before, now again, remember, I'm not going into motivation. Motivation is the basics of everything that we do. So I'm just going to leave that aside. I'm just going to go into the conversation I would have with Molly right now. So let me ask you a question. There's too many people in this marketplace saying, make an offer. Do you want to make an offer? Or do you want to own the home?
Wow. No, I want to own this one, Denny. This is a good one. There's a couple would have tried out, but I like this one.
Well, remember a couple we looked at before are already pending. We got there too slow, right? So here's the thing. Now let me ask you, I'm going to go back to the first little niblet we did. I'm going to give you the meat thermometer. So Molly, based on your opinion of the market, being a buyer coming into Asheville, there's no wrong answer here. Do you think the market's working in your favor or working against you?
It's definitely working against me. I mean, there were people when we got here and there's people in the driveway right now. So I know there's going to be competition.
That's right. So speed is speed is important, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
So in a market, in the segment you're in right now, another term I want you to become familiar with is the asking price is not the asking price. It's what we call the starting line. This is North Carolina, so we're used to racing, right? That's the starting line. So I've got a question for you. What's the most you're willing to pay for this home? It's listed at 300. It's been on the market a day.
Well, I don't want to overpay though, Denny.
I understand.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm approved up to 325. So if it was worth 325, I love this house. I'd be willing to pay that.
Well, what's interesting about if it's worth that, because you're using financing, and even if you're a cash buyer, it could be contingent on appraisal. A little side note, I know some agents that are watching this are in markets that sellers are demanding no contingencies whatsoever. At that point, that's another conversation. Now we're going to handle it as if we could get by with an appraisal contingency in it. So back to the role play. So is your main concern then not overpaying for it?
Yeah, I want to make sure of that. Sure.
Okay, so then if you have the appraisal and the bank and the lender says it's worth 325, are you going to be okay with that?
Yeah, that's great. I think it only makes my payments like $45 a month more, so that's fine.
So I've got a couple questions to ask before we go, and the sooner we ask, you can answer these questions, the quicker we can go on to see if we can get you to own this home. Number one is, if you found out and you make that, put your best foot forward at 325,000, you find out later it closed for 325, 500, how will you feel?
Oh my gosh. I mean, that would probably kill me. I'm putting a little bit down. So I guess I could, if I took the 3.5% I'm putting down and added that, my loan amount's 325. So I guess we could go up to theoretically 3.5% more. So I'm real good at math. I think we could go, and I could maybe borrow a little money from my friends. So we could probably go up to maybe 335. I could do 335, Denny.
Now notice, you guys, when the customer's talking, don't talk. Don't help them out. Don't bail them out. Let them get it all out there, because here's the thing. If you say a number, you lose. They've got to say the number.
Write that down, y'all. Write that down.
Because if they give you $20 to go buy lottery tickets and you go buy them and you pick the numbers and they lose, are they going to blame you? You bet they will. So if they lose the house on your number, you lose. So you're saying, Molly, you're willing to go up to 335, right?
Yep, I can make that work. This house is worth it. I want to be here. I'll be mad if I don't get it.
So I'm going to ask you a question that sounds like Groundhog Day. So if you find out that it sold for $335,500, how will you feel?
I'll feel like I did the absolute best I could. I'll still be bummed, but I will feel like I really, really did the best I could.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've got to get them to say that. Because here's the thing, Molly, if you do the best and lose your house, will you be able to go and lay your head on a pillow and not lose a wink of sleep?
Yep, for sure.
Well, if you can sleep, I can sleep.
Okay, I appreciate that, Denny. You're a good realtor. I love you, man.
Now we're not there yet.
Right.
We got one more thing to do. Now that's their best. Notice I didn't give them a price, and agents quit trying to protect your buyers and keep them like not paying so much. Oh, I wouldn't pay that much. Well, then they want to own the home, right?
Yeah.
One more question, Molly. So let's assume that you closed on the house, and 2 weeks after closing, you're over at the public supermarket, and you happen to see two people ahead of you is the seller. Now you're overhearing the conversation the seller's having with the cashier. The seller doesn't know you're there. And this is what you hear. You wouldn't believe it. I listed my house just like a month or two ago, and I asked $300,000 for it. And this lady came in and offered me $335,000. I mean, can you believe it? I mean, the second best offer was only $310,000. So now you've heard the conversation.
Yeah.
What's going through your mind?
Well, I'm a student of mindset, so it wouldn't really bother me because I'm pretty positive and I'm in the house. My stuff's moved in and I'm happy. So I'm probably okay with it. Good for them. Good for them. They got an extra 25 grand. I hope they give it to charity.
Now, do you understand why I would ask that question? Because when they find out they paid more than they needed to, then they still could be upset with you. So write this down. This is the greatest question in the world working with buyers. Which is the greater pain? Making an offer less than you're willing to pay for it and losing the home, or making an offer more than the seller would accept and getting the home.
Y'all, that's a mic drop. That is a mic drop.
When you ask that question, when you take them through that scenario, you have never said a word. Their DNA is all over that. And again, if you give them a number, you're putting yourself in jeopardy of basically causing them to blame you for losing the house. So I trust that was helpful. What do you want to say to close up this little segment of Bold Pivot Niblets?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to reiterate, this isn't sales. These are asking great questions and knowing what to say to help people with the largest investment of their lifetime. You've got to be a professional. Professionals don't wing it. So practice these things, understand the value in them so that you can deliver them with genuine authenticity and coming from contribution.
Awesome. Well, you guys put your comments under these feeds. Bold coaches like ourselves will be monitoring this. If you have questions, you want us to do some more role plays, Molly and I will be coming back with some more niblets, as will other bold coaches. So stay tuned on the Bold Pivot Niblet page. See ya. Thank you, Molly.
Bye.